Joining us now from Capitol Hill, Republican member of the Judiciary Committee, Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. We really appreciate your coming on the show this morning. And Andrea Mitchell has the first question. Andrea.
Senator, it's great to see you again. A lot of people are questioning the process here. Why schedule a vote before you've heard from the witnesses? What's the rush? And also, I've watched you in hearings. You ask great questions. So why are you going to rely on this prosecutor from Arizona, a woman, when senators are elected to find facts themselves? That's your job. You do a great job with it.
Let me ask answer your last question first, Ms. Mitchell. And I only speak for myself. Dr. Ford, through her counsel, was very insistent that we not allow the hearing to be hijacked with theatrics, like the confirmation hearing was, in my judgment. We talked about it among ourselves, we meaning the Republicans on the committee, and decided that given the amount of time that we have, Dr. Ford also insisted on just one round of questions, that we would hire somebody who has expertise in trying to ferret out the facts in a case where sexual assault has been alleged. I don't know that every committee member has given up the right to ask questions, but I know I intend to defer to, I can't remember the name of the prosecutor, Ms. Mitchell, I think. Ms. Mitchell, yes.
No relation.
So it was in part at Dr. Ford's suggestion, though I don't want to mislead you. She didn't suggest we hire an attorney, but we felt like with the amount of time we each have 5 minutes, which is not much time at all. But Dr. Ford wanted one round. She asked for frequent breaks. We're going to do it in a smaller room at her request, one camera, and I'm repeating myself, but one round of questions.
So I'll follow up, and just to, kind of keep it an open, positive conversation here. I've been very vocal about how the media could do better covering this story. I feel like a lot of people are kind of going out on a limb and convicting Brett Kavanaugh or smearing the accusers, and it's happening in the media, and it's a struggle. But are there areas where the Republicans could do better in this, and especially on the Judiciary Committee, in terms of handling accusers in situations like this and in this specific situation?
Well, I think there are areas where we could all do better, not just the politicians, but America. This is no country, in my judgment, for creepy old men, or young men, or middle-aged men. But this is also no country to ignore due process. Some of my colleagues have suggested, and I've tried to understand their point of view, that you're morally tainted if you don't automatically believe the accuser. I don't agree with that. I think you're morally tainted if you don't take the accuser seriously, if you don't afford the accuser and the accused an attentive ear, fairness, and due process. I realize reasonable, fair-minded people disagree, but that's what we've tried to do here.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons we're having the hearing, and we are doing it. I don't want to overstate this, but a lot of the rules have been set by Dr. Ford's counsel.
Right. So I'm hearing you on fairness and due process, and I'm hearing you on responding to the requests by Dr. Ford's counsel. But why a vote on Friday, 24 hours after the hearings? And why not just to sort of really go for fairness here and the biggest effort toward the truth? Why not an FBI investigation?
Let me answer the hearing venue and time first. I asked about that. We are required, the rules require us to give 3 days notice to have what's called a markup, which is Senateese for saying a vote. So I think Senator Grassley was doing that to start the time running. Number two, the deadline that I've always worked with has been October 1. My goal has been to have a decision made by October 1, which of course is the date that the United States Supreme Court begins its new session. Now, in terms of the FBI, I don't have enough information to ask for an FBI report. In fact, I don't have any information firsthand. All the information that I have, and I think most of us have, comes from an article that Dr. Ford gave that resulted from an interview she gave in the Washington Post. I'm not criticizing the Washington Post, but I need to hear from Dr. Ford firsthand. Point two, staff, both minority and minority staff for Senate committees, investigate allegations, alleged facts all the time. We don't normally go to the FBI. We have a very good and not inexpensive majority staff and minority staff that are investigating all of these claims right now. Now, Senator Feinstein has instructed the minority staff not to participate. That's her call. But I don't want people to think these allegations by Dr. Ford or Ms. Ramirez or I can't think of his name, Stormy Daniels' counsel,
Avenatti.
Mr. Avenatti, or whoever else makes allegations. They're all going to be investigated, and they are being investigated. But I want to hear from Dr. Ford. Some people suggested that this is not regular order. Some people, normally when confirmation is over and someone comes forth with information, you turn it over to your staffs, they investigate and report back to us in written form. Some suggested that's the way we do it. I asked to have a hearing, and many others did as well. And I hope Dr. Ford comes tomorrow. I don't want her, I mean, I told you why I agreed to hire the special counsel, if you will. I'm not giving our special counsel instructions to go Catwoman or Batman on Dr. Ford. That's not the purpose. The purpose is to elicit the information.
Senator, it's Willie Geist. We appreciate you taking the time with us this morning. You
bet,
said after Judge Kavanaugh's initial testimony, after he finished those 3 days of testimony, quote, "I am going to vote happily and proudly to confirm him." Are you open to the possibility, Senator, that if by the end of the day tomorrow, based on what you hear from Dr. Ford, you could be a no vote on Judge Kavanaugh?
Well, of course. That's the purpose of the hearing. Now, I believe Judge Kavanaugh. I've spoken directly to Judge Kavanaugh. I've asked him point blank. He's resolute. He's resolute. He's determined. He's not mad at anybody. He didn't speak ugly about anyone, Willie. But he told me categorically, unconditionally, did not happen. I believe him. But that doesn't mean that I could not be persuaded otherwise. I really want to hear from Dr. Ford and accord her the respect and the due process that she deserves, as well as Judge Kavanaugh. I want to treat Dr. Ford as if she were my daughter. But I want to treat Judge Kavanaugh as if he were my son.
There you go.
And on the other side of it, you said unequivocally Judge Kavanaugh says he didn't do it. Dr. Ford has said unequivocally it happened, and she will say that again tomorrow. So how do you balance those two claims?
I don't know that this will be a discussion of the truth as much as it will be an analysis of the memory. It happened a long time ago. I can tell you how my mind works. My memory is not like a computer file that I can call up with perfect retrieval. My mind is selective when I think back 30 or 40 years ago. My stroll down memory lane is kind of a lurch down memory lane. There are gaps in some of my memories. When I try to reconstruct things, sometimes I fill them in with what I think is the truth. I can't be 100% certain it's the truth. I think most of us had that experience. 35, 40 years ago is a long, long time ago. And I think we have to take that into consideration for both Dr. Ford and Judge Kavanaugh.
And with all that in mind, Senator, you know how this is going to play out. We've seen this. Whatever happens tomorrow, Democrats and progressives will say it's conclusive. Dr. Ford is telling the truth. A lot of conservatives and Republicans, as you know, will say we stand with Judge Kavanaugh. So with that, wouldn't it be smart and proper to have a third party look into this just to set the record straight? And if you're Judge Kavanaugh, wouldn't you want that record set straight by somebody so he could say, don't take my word for it, take the FBI's word for it?
Well, that's a fair point, and that's what the majority staff and the minority staff, the Republican and Democrat staff, are supposed to do together. But to your point, Willie, and it's a good one, Anybody who's been watching this and who has the sense that God gave a goose can understand that this whole thing has been marbled with politics.
Yep.
There haven't been many Lincoln moments in this. And I go back to the original confirmation hearing with senators interrupting senators and talking over each other and 240 protesters. I hope that tomorrow does not end up like the original confirmation hearing did. I was embarrassed for us, quite frankly.
So, are you? I agree. The process has across the board gotten difficult to watch and difficult to cover.
And again, if I could say this, Mika, and the Supreme Court, in the minds of many fair-minded Americans, has become politicized. And you know whose fault that is? In my judgment, primarily the United States Congress.
Yeah.
Because we keep punting on the tough issues. Nobody around here wants to be a senator and take a tough vote.
Yeah, don't disagree. So on the issue of fairness, and some of the words you said are inspiring this question, but if you hear something that really does sow doubt in your mind about Brett Kavanaugh's claim that he did not do this, are you open to calling for or supporting an FBI investigation if you hear something tomorrow that truly concerns you?
Sure, I wouldn't go to the hearing otherwise. This is not a done deal for me, but I don't want to bubble wrap this. I think it's going to be very difficult to determine the truth. I have spoken with Brett Kavanaugh. I have the advantage, I guess, of having watched him through 32 hours of testimony. I've read many of his opinions. I've read all of his law review articles. I believe him. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I'm not prepared to be persuaded by Dr. Ford and to listen to her attentively. Let me say it again. Yeah. I want a country without creepy old men, but with due process.
Yeah, I hear you. And what you're saying is you want to hear her, which is fair. And that's all I think we can ask for. David Ignatius has a question for you, Senator. David.
Sure. Senator Kennedy, you said that this process historically has been marbled with politics. That was a good phrase. I want to ask you a question I think a lot of people are wondering. This is a lifetime appointment to the court. What's the rush? Why have this artificial timeline for voting and getting it done so quickly when there obviously are profound questions? Why the need to do it so quickly?
Well, a couple of reasons. First, I think we have to accept reality. There are people on both sides of this nomination who are in good faith. There are people on both sides of this nomination who are not in good faith. It's about power. It's not about truth or memory or fairness. That's just reality. Number two, I've always believed that we should have someone in place by October 1. I don't think it's fair to have litigants spend a lot of money on important questions to get a case to the United States Supreme Court and end up with a 4-4 tie. That's not what our founders intended. That's what's driven me. I will say I'm not impugning her motives, but I'm disappointed that Senator Feinstein did not bring these allegations redacted, protecting Dr. Ford's anonymity, to us earlier. I think this would have been a much different process. Now, she has her reasons, and I like Diane. She's smarter than me. She's very experienced, more experienced than me, certainly, for sure. And she has her reasons, but I will tell you, I bet in her heart, if she had it to do over again, she would do it differently.
All right, Andrea Mitchell.
One question, Senator, about another accuser, Deborah Ramirez, who the president said was inebriated and all messed up. Now, she was, to many accounts, trying to be honest about her memory and how she was inebriated, but there were other supporting witnesses to her character, her intentions, and her seriousness as a student and as a young person and now. And her complaint has been that her lawyer has tried to get in touch with the Grassley committee and keeps getting put off, that the Grassley staff keeps saying, yeah, we'll get back to you, but that she's had no opportunity to speak to the staff. And what wouldn't the committee want to hear from her privately, publicly, whatever, or talk to her attorneys, hear her story before a vote takes place on Friday?
Well, that's not what the staff tells me,
okay,
Andrea. And again, I'm talking to the staff appointed by Senator Grassley because the staff appointed by Senator Feinstein has been instructed not to participate. But I asked point blank our staff, and I was told that our staff had tried repeatedly to reach Ms. Ramirez's counsel. They finally got through to the council. The council said, we do not have a statement to make. Read the New Yorker. Well, I have read the New Yorker. It's the only information I have to go on. As I understand it, no one there were a lot of people at the alleged party. No one either recalls it or says it happened. That Ms. Ramirez's best friend through her 4 years at Yale never recalls Ms. Ramirez talking about this. Now, I've never met Ms. Ramirez. I don't know her. I'm not calling her a liar, but I was told to go read the New Yorker. With all due respect, my Constitution does not say that the New Yorker gets to advise and consent. It says the Senate does. And that's why I want to hear firsthand on all of this information, but there's got to be a modicum of cooperation.
Yeah. I really appreciate this interview. This has been fascinating, and I urge people on both sides of this issue, no matter who you support or what side of the aisle you're on, to watch this again. We're all considering the position that these women are in. I think we're having...
It's tough.
It's tough.
It's tough.
You're also in a position where you're trying to take in all this information. You have to make a decision on it. And we really appreciate your candor this morning.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
All
Thanks,
right.
Senator.
Senator John Kennedy, thank you very much.